Henrico 911, where's your emergency?
We're in the business of saving lives. We don't actually have to do that, thank goodness, a lot of the time, but the potential is always there.
Henrico 911, where's your emergency?
We're there to do the very best we can to provide them service, whether they call in on a non-emergency line or whether they call in on 911.
Someone on the phone that wants to speak with an officer?
We're there to serve them, and we understand that. And through providing them good service, we also need some information from them to get them that service, whether it being just to transfer them to the proper department.
Okay, Mr. Turner, I'll leave Animal Protection Officer Carlson that message.
To get them an animal protection officer because they want to report a rabid fox or a loose dog.
All right, I'm going to place the call in for officers to respond out there. Can I get your name and telephone number?
Because they need a police officer to help stop a loud party or to break up a domestic or to catch bank robbers. Whether it is to report their house being on fire or whether their loved one's having a heart attack.
Okay, do you know if he had a seizure?
We need to know where they are, and that it's not as simple as them calling in and just giving an address, a phone number, and a name and just thinking that's all we need. The questions we ask are to help them.
Code 21056. The number one thing we need is, where are you? We answer the phone, Henrico 911, where's your emergency? As soon as we get that, the police, fire, and rescue are en route.
Henrico 911, where's your emergency?
The most important thing is to get the location first. The person's always going to ask, because as soon as we get your location, an idea of what you need, whether it be police, fire, or rescue, we can enter the call in at that point, and it can already be dispatched, so the units may already be on the way.
Fireman 12, Engine 9, Fireman 12, Engine 9, responding ALS Code 3 for a diabetic problem.
Where would probably be the most important thing, and then from there, it's important to say what is going on for our officer safety as well as our EMS and fire. They need to know what they're responding to so that they can be best equipped to help citizens or help the situation.
When someone calls in and they want to report their family member possibly having chest pains, we need to know whether they're conscious or breathing or not. We need to know if they have any history of such. We need to know exactly where the pains are in their chest. We need to know if that pain is radiating anywhere. Although the caller may think that that is slowing down the dispatch because we're asking these questions, it's not.
Is he conscious?
The questions are being asked, in most cases, while help is on the way.
I think it's definitely something that you're born with. You're given the skills, but if you don't have the passion for it, it's not going to work. You have to be able to multitask. You have to be nosy. Being nosy is kind of your job. That's a big thing, to pull information out of people. You just have to want to help.
I didn't know that I could handle listening to all the problems that people were having. Someone calling about their child choking or someone drowning. I didn't know that I could handle that. I really didn't think I could. So I guess you have to be the type of person that can move past it and help. Even if you can't physically help them, you're getting them people that can. So your part is number one and most essential in my book, because you are helping them.
One of my favorite calls was probably one of the first calls that I ever got. I was on midnight shift and a call came in early in the morning. The female stated that she was laying in her bed and felt somebody pull the covers off of her, and she looked up and there was somebody in her house. Well, he ran out the door, so she calls into 911, get the description of the subject and get officers on the way. And she was telling me how the night before the same thing had happened, but she just thought she was dreaming. So I have her look out the window, and she's telling me where the suspect's going, and I get officers out there, and they actually end up apprehending the suspect. And sure enough, the night before, he'd gone in, pulled the covers off of her. She kind of turned and woken up, and he had gotten out before she had even realized it, but he came in again the next night. He was trying to break into her house, but she had actually woken up, so we caught the guy and got him off the streets.
We receive landline 911 calls, cell phone 911 calls, and then non-emergency calls. So you have a mixture of everything between people just looking for the phone number to the jail or the magistrate's office, to trying to get the number to the courts to pay a ticket, or a cell phone 911, which sometimes can be someone's phone dialing 911 in their pocket, or a real emergency. Henrico 911, where's your emergency? And this is Carriage Hill Apartments. And can I get your name?
To be good at this job, you have to be able to separate yourself from the situation that's going on. You can't become emotionally involved in it, or you won't be able to focus. You have to be a good multitasker and be able to listen as well as know what your next step needs to be to get that call out in an urgent manner, and to be able to be professional as well.
Yes, Richmond. Let me check for you. Radio to any air unit available on West.
Metro 2, contact departure. Over to departure, Metro 2.
The city just had a robbery. They need to use the airplane. We have to look for them to tell them to go over to that certain channel.
Air 2, switching to Central. They dispatch us to the area. They help coordinate us and the ground units to get the coverage that the ground units need. We have a hard time getting any communications to the ground units without the Emergency Communications Center. They do a great job at, like I said, playing a liaison between us and the ground units and making sure that communication is seamless between the two units.
Okay, so the vehicle's occupied 4 times. Okay, and does he have any weapons? Does he appear intoxicated, can you tell? We get a lot of suspicious situations. People will call in if they don't recognize people to the neighborhood. So this guy was walking around the apartment complex, so he just wanted to make sure, to send somebody out there to make sure it was legitimate and he wasn't doing anything weird or suspicious. I took a call probably about a year or 2 ago, and it was a gentleman calling in saying that his wife wasn't breathing. And we're always prompted, you know, to ask the conscious and breathing. Well, I already knew at this point his address, that his wife wasn't breathing, and I there proceeded to give him instructions for CPR. He gave her CPR, and by the time rescue personnel arrived, she was breathing again. We get recertified in CPR every 2 years, and we also have cheat sheets that if we enter a call in for someone that's not breathing, something pops up on our computer screen to give us directions to do CPR. So it's nothing that you have to know off the top of your head, but the training that we get here is probably, I think, the best of the best, and that'll always help you because you always fall back on what you were taught.
At first, it's a little difficult to get used to looking at 5 computer screens where most people are used to 1, and also to just see how busy we are in Henrico.
Firamedic 1, responding ALS code 3 for allergies and stings. Please update your ALS RSI status on the MDC. This concludes the diversion update. Engine 7, responding for a field fire. ALS 29, tuck or spin engine 8. ALS 29, tuck or spin engine 8, responding ALS code 3 for an injury. All equipment en route, TAC 4, 1413. It's very overwhelming at first when you see 5 computers. But you get used to it, and they're all there for a purpose, and they're very easily accessible, and I've come by it very easily, and I'm not at all a technology person, so for me to say that means a lot. Firamedic 11, truck 10, Firamedic 11, truck 10, responding ALS code 3 for unconscious fainting. All equipment en route, TAC 4, 1437. Firamedic 11's calls en route. This one shows me my calls. It shows the calls that are impending, the calls that are in progress, and then the units available to be able to go on a call. This screen is where my calls actually are, where I'll assign the units, and this is where I'll go over and I can key up to announce to the stations where they're responding to. Firamedic 3, Engine 3, Firamedic 3, Engine 3, responding ALS code 3 for convulsion seizures. Call will be handled on TAC 4 timeout 1416.
The very first part of any emergency in Henrico County is somebody calls 911, the call taker takes that information, and then they have to route it, you know, whether it's going to be a police call, whether it's going to be a fire call. So it's the first way that we get air information. This case behind us was an early morning fire, about 6 o'clock in the morning, and this is a case where we got the dispatch. They were actually dealing with people that were on cell phones. As they're getting more information from the call takers, they're giving us, on the engine company, more information, and they started telling us which street it was on, what part of the block, that there was already fire coming through the roof. And then once we're on scene, you know, it's still calling for more help. As the fire maybe starts to get on the lower side of it, you know, calling for the investigator that we have a suspicious fire, calling for maybe a chaplain, calling for the Red Cross. They are just a very critical part of our operation. If we didn't have them, the rubber would never meet the road right here for the Henrico Fire Department. Engine 3 to dispatch. If you can also just have Fire Medic 3 respond code 2.